Everywhere you go, you'll find stories of legendary creatures and creepy crawlies that add some local flavor to locations. Cryptids and urban legends have been haunting the imaginations of many for as long as we can remember. The world would be a less interesting place otherwise. However, one seems to stand head and shoulders or extremely long neck above the competition. The Loch Ness Monster, or Nessie. Maybe it's the family-friendly appeal of an ancient friendly dinosaur living in a body of water, or it could be the abundance of questionable photographs and first-hand accounts. Regardless of the explanation, or lack thereof, there's no denying the popularity and mysterious allure of the Loch Ness Monster. I'm not so sure any of these count as scary, but maybe shocking. But hey, let's get right down to business. It's time for the top 5 real scary Loch Ness Monster encounters. Coming in at number 5, we've got an ancient appearance. Most folks seem to think that tales of Nessie started showing up at the turn of the 20th century. With personal photography being more common than ever before, and cameras ending up in the hands of more individuals, it was possible to snap a few shots of the aquatic entity. Most of these pictures have been debunked at this point, but we'll get to that later. The thing is though, accounts of the Loch Ness Monster go way back. Like, seriously far back through history. Back before photography or the printing press or even common writing. That's right, people were discussing the Loch Ness Monster back in the age of cave drawings and stone carvings. Apparently folks had found depictions of a strange, flippered, dinosaur-like creature among the carvings by the Pict, an ancient people thought to have lived in what's now eastern and northeastern Scotland. The Picts were first noticed in 297 AD, which puts the origin of this legend way earlier than people usually assume. Then a few hundred years later, we have the first written account of Nessie. A monster that bit swimmers in the water was mentioned in St. Columba's biography. Don't worry though, Columba told it to go back and Nessie listened. What a lovely Loch Ness Monster, right? After being banished by St. Columba, Nessie only made occasional appearances over the years. This only added to the legendary status of the beast, however, as many people would discuss it over the years. Who would have thought that scarcity would make something more interesting and valuable to people? Limited edition Loch Ness Monster signings signed me and the rest of the internet up. Wild how a creature first dreamed up so many years ago can have such a vice grip on the popular conscience. Coming in at number 4, we've got the surgeon's photo. This is where things get really wild concerning the Loch Ness Monster, and by wild I mean mostly popular. Every story has a big turning point, and this is probably it for Nessie. If we relied strictly on Pictish stories of an ancient aquatic beast, I doubt it would be the force it is today. So instead we look at a photograph snapped by a surgeon, thus the surgeon's photo. In the 1930s, a new road was finished right by the famous Loch Ness, which provided a new unobstructed view of the body of water. Many people journeyed out to bask in the splendor of such a sight, and in doing so opened the proverbial floodgates to new experiences. In 1933, someone spotted an enormous beast in the water and the legend was reborn. Confirmation is difficult when it comes to stuff like this, so different stories began to fly around. We're talking about hypothetical hippopotamus sightings here, folks. In fact, a big game hunter was hired to figure out just what was going on. He discovered some large footprints along the shore that seemed to belong to a powerful soft-footed animal. This was, like most information regarding Nessie, proven to be a hoax though. However, what really galvanized the tale was the photograph mentioned in the subtitle. In 1934, Robert Kenneth Wilson managed to produce a photograph seemingly depicting the head and neck of Nessie popping out of the water. When the Daily Mail printed the picture, popularity exploded. People wanted to see this with their own 2 eyes and flocked to Loch Ness to see if they could catch a glimpse. Some even speculated that this was a plesiosaur, long believed to have gone extinct. What a time to be alive, am I right? Well, this photo has undergone intense scrutiny as well, inspiring plenty of skeptics to do their best debunking it. However, no matter how many people point out potential forgeries in the photo, its impact remains unchanged. This photograph cemented Nessie as a bona fide urban legend and creature of renown, and for years after it was taken, it would enthrall creature enthusiasts and whimsical minds alike. Coming in number 3, in search of. If you search, you can find. It's a pretty solid motto, don't you think? And with that in mind, take a look at what these guys found while investigating Loch Ness. It's pretty wild to think that a modern camera crew can just decide to head out on the water and find something, but hey, you can't really tell what they found exactly, but any sort of unexplainable occurrence in Loch Ness will be chalked up to some enormous long-necked beast. See, the crew went out with the intent to sight the beautiful monster and did everything in their power to catch that glimpse. First, something pinged on their radar, alerting them to a huge moving presence beneath the surface. This was the diving crew's signal to hop into the water and give it a look, which, by the way, is a bonkers thing to do. Imagine your boss claiming that there was a huge monster in the water and then telling you to hop in. Hilarious. The divers brought with them an underwater camera rig, but soon the light was pretty dim. Suddenly something moved in the water nearby, knocking the camera off its axis and kicking up all sorts of muck and mire. No clear shots ended up in the footage, but the fact that something like that happened is fascinating. So what do you think? Was it Nessie? Something else, perhaps? Adding to the legend of Loch Ness for sure. Coming in number 2, we've got the Beast of Loch Ness. Over the years, many folks have claimed to see the legendary creature. In fact, documentarians have done their best to immortalize a lot of the accounts. At one point, a Nova film called The Beast of Loch Ness was created, jam-packed with first-hand tales of Nessie. Ian Cameron, a retired superintendent of the Northern Police Force, was out fishing with a friend when he saw the monster. About 200 yards from where he was standing, something huge and whale-like seemed to breach the surface. He looked to his friend, who was equally confused and enthralled. Since then, they've claimed that the sighting was real, although they know they can't convince anyone without them seeing it with their own 2 eyes. Then there's Val Moffat, who was driving along the edge of the lake on her way home. Out of the corner of her eye, she spotted something moving through the water, kinda brown and sludgy. It kept surfacing and then descending back under the water, and as she kept driving, she kept seeing it happen. She claims to have almost driven right off the road, but thankfully she didn't. Ronald McIntosh, a lifelong Loch Ness resident, claims to have seen the creature pull off a wicked jump. He was in the backseat of his family's car on the way to town when he saw something that made him yell, "Stop the car!" They all looked towards the lake and saw something as big as a bus fly out of the water and then come crashing down with a splash. Even years later, they haven't come up with a solid explanation as to what it might have been, other than Nessie. And finally at number 1, we've got Steve Challice. Now you know I've got to include at least one super recent sighting on this list just to keep everyone on their toes. This happened in 2020. Steve Challice was taking pictures while on vacation and seemed to have picked up evidence of a massive creature moving through the water at Loch Ness. You can see ripples and waves and possibly the outline of a huge beast. The internet was abuzz with all sorts of crazy theories, from somebody pulling off a wicked hoax to the actual monster being around. However, Challice himself doesn't seem too convinced that he actually snapped a pic of the monster, so who knows? We live in a mysterious world, why not add some additional mystery? Just don't go around saying Lake Loch Ness, alright? You'll make a bunch of folks really mad and they won't be able to resist correcting you. Maybe someday you'll find some Nessie footage of your very own. Until then, it's all conjecture, baby. So what do you think of the list? Did you agree with my picks? Are any of these sightings real? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more potent ones from the top 5 scary demons in folklore. Alyssa Jackalek says the Black Shuck has another type of legend. A lot of the stuff I've read about them goes they appear as a large black dog. The first meeting, it will bring fortune, like comfort/luck. The second time is a warning, like almost dying or barely avoiding something that would have resulted in death. The third time is death. Jeez, I wonder how people avoid those second 2 sightings. Ghost Warrior 1111 says, I hear the Doomslayer loading his shotgun from far away. Doom Guy would never be far away, he's always right up in your face. Omega says, I thought the first demon was going to be the Skin Goat. We all think it's going to be the Skin Goat from time to time. Juan Garcia says, reading words out loud is like hard. Don't worry Juan, you'll get it someday. And Mary Anna Conti says, fear births the horror's mythology, and that humans put the cart before the horse, so to speak. We just love to get ourselves all riled up over made up things, now don't we? And that is all the time we have for today. I'm going to put all my eggs in one basket and then sprint them down the hill. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. It smells like soy sauce in here. You eating sushi?
Oh, it's that French vanilla.
Oh, is it?
So
nice. Yeah, we're doing predictive programming today. The Picts were first noted. It was mentioned in St. Columba's. A monster that bit swimmers in the water was mentioned in St. Columba's via. Don't worry though, Columba did. Don't worry though, Columba did tell the. And now.